So, do you want to get into F-Zero GX? Maybe you love Smash and want to see where Captain Falcon comes from. Maybe you like fast racing games, so you want to try out the fastest. Maybe it's the one Nintendo series you never really got into. Whatever the reason, you were probably aware of the fact that it's hard. Like, really, really hard. It's legit one of the hardest games ever made that's like, actually good and not just some like NES game with a bunch of malarkey. However, it's not as hard as you might think. There's a few basic tips that'll make your experience much more enjoyable and provide a smoother learning curve instead of the cliff it is known for. So first, here's just a quick control overview. A makes you go, Y boost, and L and R are pressure sensitive drifting. There's also an attack button. It defaults to X, but a lot of people suggest swapping it to B because B breaks and you will literally never break in an F-Zero game. Like, I think if you try Captain Falcon's hand will come out of the controller to slap you if you dare press that break button. I don't think it matters too much, but I do prefer switching attack to B, and it's more comfortable. So go ahead and do that. Now you hit B twice to sideswipe, and your finger can stay in range of the 3 buttons a little easier. Second tip that's much more important, hit down on the D-pad. Boom. That makes the camera so much better. There's 4 camera angles, useless for driving first-person view, then the default view, then there's the more zoomed out look that you should be using, and a super zoomed out view that you should avoid. Use 1 down from default. I didn't know you could change the camera when I first started playing, but once I did, it made a huge difference. Being able to see more of what's ahead of you is obviously supremely helpful in a Chris Johnson fast racing game. Just do it, never look back. Now, for what to do in the game, ignore story mode. Story mode probably shouldn't be attempted until you can finish a cup on Expert. Mission 1 is easy, but Mission 2 is literally a cliff and it only gets harder from there. Once you win the first 3 cups on Standard, you can start trying, but you still might not be good enough. Completing story mode on normal is much tougher than beating the first 3 cups on Expert for sure, and possibly Master as well. Alright, ignore story mode, so starting Grand Prix. Hold it! Okay, you can do the first cup on Novice to see how you do, but don't dismiss practice mode. Practice mode is actually super helpful. I know it sounds lame, who wants to go to practice mode? That's not what Allen Iverson would do. Yeah, well, you can skip practice when you get that cool. Until then, listen to me. Anyway, you should really go at the courses until you feel reasonably confident you can complete them without falling off. The courses in GX can be murderous at times. There's nothing worse than game overing on the 4th or 5th race of a cup and feeling like you just wasted your time. Practice these courses in particular. Mute City Serial Gaps, the hardest normal course in the game. Lightning Halfpipe, and the end of Green Plant Intersection. If you go straight to Grand Prix, you will probably die a lot and be super annoyed. Just practice a little. You can try Grand Prix going in blind, but don't just keep banging your head against the Grand Prix wall. If your game over and all that, go to practice mode. The great thing about practice mode is its customability. You can have the track empty if you don't want to deal with traffic, or put 29 other races on and simulate a real race. You can choose your difficulty and see how you do, and if you can even get to first place in the harder difficulties. Just work on getting to first place on each track on whatever difficulty level you're on, and that'll make winning the Grand Prix way faster. But the coolest thing about practice mode is this little robot Lakitu that puts you back on the track if you fall off. That's what really lets you learn the course instead of just being dead and having to start all over like in Grand Prix. If you do say like 6 laps of the course in a row, you basically have it down, and it only takes like 5 minutes. 5 minutes is not a huge time investment to learn the course. Especially because there's only like 3 courses I'd say you really need to practice to learn to not die on. Alright, so what vehicles to use? Start with the Blue Falcon. You probably bought the game because you like Captain Falcon, and the Blue Falcon's the perfect starting vehicle. Great for newcomers, but can and has to be used to do the hardest task in the game. It's fantastically balanced, it's super easy to handle, and you have to use it in story mode, so you better start building some experience with it. But once you get better and start craving a little more power or speed, the 2 cars you should look at are Beastman's Hyper Speeder and the Skull's Sonic Phantom. The Sonic Phantom has a killer boost and is super easy to handle, but it's a little fragile, so you might want to save it for when you stop bumping into walls. And Beastman has a great all-around car. Take Falcon as far as you can, and once you want more, look to these guys. Let's talk about story mode. When you finally start it, and when you finally get to Chapter 7, there is something you should know. Story mode has a lot of cool, unique setups for its missions, but 7 is an exception. It's just a straight 3-lap race. That makes it easier, right? Nope. Black Shadow's AI in this chapter does not work like the rest of the game. It's a bunch of malarkey. You can go way faster and boost more often than any other racer in the game. It is incredibly difficult for a standard human to beat him in a fair race. So what you should do is attack him. It's easy to sideswipe him at the start, but he has more health in this chapter than a standard racer, so you have to finish the job later. Just at some point, you need to kill Black Shadow if you want to make beating Chapter 7 significantly easier. It might feel a little cheap, but hey, I'm just telling you the easiest method. Alright, you know what mode to start in, you get the characters to use, you got your camera right. But there's one more very important thing to know, how to quick turn. So L and R make you drift in the left or right direction. You might know this and be doing it, still running into a bunch of walls. Hey, what gives? Am I supposed to slow down? You told me I won't need the brake button. Relax, this is F-Zero, you won't. There's a quick turn technique which is essential, but the game never tells you about it. It's not mentioned in the manual or anything. What you need to do is if you want to turn left, is press R slightly and then L to turn left quickly. And if you want to make a hard right, press L then R. Look at the difference. It allows you to take turns at high speed. It's so useful, and it's not really an advanced technique or anything, it's not hard to do. Honestly, it's pretty crappy the game never tells you about it. It's like Platinum Games bad or Wonderful 101 in terms of not telling you basic things. I guess maybe they expect you to figure it out yourself, but still. Unless I missed something, they never talk about it, don't mention the manual at all. One final thing. Unless you're playing this in Dolphin, you are probably playing on a GameCube or Wii. If you're on GameCube, you're out of luck, but on Wii, you might want some component cables. Component cables make games look way better than the standard red, white, yellow composite, and if you play your Wii a lot, you should definitely get them. You can get cheap ones that work good enough for like $6. It helps a lot to be able to see things when you're using all that boost power. GameCube component cables are absurdly rare and expensive, so sorry if you're playing on that. Everybody bought a Wii though, so you probably have one lying around, and if you do, just get some component cables. So that's about all the basic tips I got. There was so much more to learn in this game, but absolutely incredibly basic stuff. Honestly, while story mode is soul-crushingly tough, beating the cups on Expert and Master wasn't nearly as bad as I expected. I spent some time in practice, and then when I finally went for it, beat them all on my first try, although I had already beat story mode at that point. F-Zero GX rules, and hopefully now you know what to do and can start enjoying it, because this game is amazing, and I love it. Still never been surpassed, and it's just an incredible achievement by Sega Nintendo. Go play F-Zero GX!